This episode is brought to you by listeners like you, fueling our podcast and giving us the boost behind this mic. Thank you for your support. On this episode of the podcast, now we meet Christopher Johnson, right? Christopher Johnson is a prawn, right? And they have a name for a reason. We all know whenever you give characters names, there is a reason for that, right? Answers just moments away.
Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilizations, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captivated audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on Flix.
Greetings, fellow sci-fi and fantasy lovers. Welcome to Flix, where we explore the TV shows and movies that shape our imaginations. I'm Andre Bonner, and in today's episode, we'll be looking at humanity, segregation, and the alien within in the movie District 9. In this first contact story, the script flips completely. The aliens who arrive on Earth aren't invincible conquerors. They're vulnerable, unprepared, and quickly crushed under the weight of human segregation and abuse. Pulled from their massive, derelict ship, they're herded into a makeshift zone beneath it, a place the world would eventually call District 9. 20 years go by, and the situation only gets worse. Now, they're being forcibly relocated to what is essentially a concentration camp. The film unfolds through a documentary-style lens, following Wickus, a ordinary man who suddenly finds himself at the center of a nightmare he never imagined. So, is this a docu-film chronicling tragedy or a harsh lesson in cause and effect? You decide as I dive into District 9. So these are my personal insights and interpretations of District 9, including my favorite moments and characters. So as I would have said in my opening interest, this is a story of a man who encountered some tragedy, right? And at the time of recording this, I must state that I have gone through safely the hurricane. We survived that hurricane, Melissa. And things have changed, for us, here in the podcast, as well as, with other things, around us. But the fact is that we're still here. And it is this change that is allowing me to even decide to do this particular movie, because when I look at it and I'm saying, this makes a whole lot of sense. So, in the opening scene, we kind of see a documentary footage going on, news clips explaining what happened in 1982, that a large alien ship just stopped over Johannesburg, South Africa, right? And of all the places in the world, them decided to go South Africa with this one, right? But me nah complain too bad because we don't get a lot of representation. Africa doesn't get a lot of representation in, these kind of films so many times, right? Stay tuned for a Doctor Who special discussion about that. Anyways, so we get to realize, these aliens, they don't seem to be normal. Them look very, the normal trope of having aliens just come to Earth and them highly intelligent and advanced and they want to take over the world or they want to do something that, yeah, nothing like that with these. These ones just seem to be very malnourished, right? And somehow not equipped, even though they have interstellar flight to do anything else. So them ships basically is stuck orbiting, hovering over the area, and humans have to go there, fly go there, cut into the ship and discover them, right? Now, apparently a government agency is, and I'm thinking MNU is basically the UN, but it's, there might be some kind of understanding there, while I don't agree with it being, put up against the UN. Not to say the UN is perfect, but there are some things that doesn't immediately make you say, hey, this is definitely what it is, right? It's just the name and the fact say, it just seem like the way how they do things, right, in terms of taking on control and, getting the aliens, them relocating them and just leaving them, in this camp, which they call District 9. So we also, basically I get a full understanding of what is happening. There's rising crime, there's some tensions, all of those things, which you expect when you settle people, when you move people from their surroundings and thing and put them into unfamiliar surroundings and stuff, and them have to try and make life and them have to change them doing things. It's not the normal thing, right? You're not expected to, most people not understand what it is, when you have to uproot your life and change, the way how things are, right? Yeah. So the employee, Wickus, as I mentioned before, is basically a typical white male with privilege, right? And while, he just seems to be naive to a lot of things too. That make it even worse for him, right? And he's introduced because the way him seem to lead this relocation project, because them decide, say, all right, after 20 years, we're tired of them doing all of these things here, so we want to put them somewhere where they're even more restricted. Because them already restricted, but to make them even more restricted. Right? I have here my notes that I'm noticing that the story is filmed in a documentary style. So each scene, everything is filmed through that lens of being a documentary. Right? And that is very important to the way how this film turns out, right? So, of course, as anybody else would be happy about a situation like this, you want to celebrate, right? Because it's a promotion now, because he's going to be able to do more, and stuff. And it seems like he enjoys doing what he's doing, even though, it's not, the greatest job, but he enjoys what he's doing, right? Now, of course, the executive them congratulate him and, on his efforts and so on, We get to find out that his father-in-law is one of the executives, right? And he's the one who's specifically responsible for giving him the assignment. So you see, story I come to bump this now, right? So of course he goes into District 9 and with the armed forces of the MNU, and media crew following them and stuff. So it's a whole deal, right? And this is what I could say definitely would parallel some of the real life situations and circumstances that are happening on the ground, even up to this day of recording with certain things, people in desperate situations, really bad, really, really, really bad, right? And you have people coming in and doing photo ops, right? Saying that they're helping when really and truly all they want is to be on, they need the optics on them to say this is what they're doing and how great they are, right? So, of course, give the residents, the prawn households, eviction notice and get them to comply, right? Because, as I said before, it's not easy to have to relocate, right? This in any circumstance, or if it uproot and change what you were doing, yeah, make a life. You know what I'm saying? It's been how much years, you're in a one situation or one place and thing, and you have to, you try and make do with everything, and then you find yourself in a situation now where you have to move out of that now. So you have to reconfigure, you have to change up everything, reset. Of course, the aliens, them would not fully understand or agree with what is happening, right? And thing. So we also notice they have illegal weapons, right? And they have problems with illegal weapons and stuff. Crime, and this is something that I have learned, right? That crime is a symptom of social problems, right? Some simple little social problems that could be solved through certain things happening, programs being put in place that are properly done and measured, right? And over time adjusted, because it can't be a one-time thing. You can't just build things and just say, yeah, I eat this, and then you know what I'm saying? When it start broke down, you complain and you say, but me they give them that, so what they want? No, you have to look at things. Things change over time, right? If you pay somebody a certain amount of money and you expect that that is going to be the case all the while, you have at fault, because you're expecting that things would never change. That's the ideal circumstance. But things can change. So, you have to have allowances for that. You have to put certain things in place, and I'm speaking about government, of course, you know what I'm saying? It is just the way how things are. These things, they are the symptom and not the problem that you need to try and say, oh, you're going to fix this particular part of it, and not look at what is the greater root cause, what is causing people to decide to choose violence. Why these Nigerian gangsters, them, right? Them are exploit the alien, them, right? Because the aliens have a thing for cat food, right? And running weapons, because, hey, they have, high-tech weapons and thing, even though them not too smart, but they have the high-tech weapons. And, the humans, they love to have these little things, and even though they can't fire it, that's the wickedest thing, they can't fire the weapon, because the weapons are designed to work only in prawn hands, right? Or prawn claws, right? So, of course, Wickus confiscates weapons and him threatens some of the prawn family them and say, hey, what not deal with, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and that was the part of it that was crazy to me. I bet me laugh a little bit, because may I say, it's almost like, you know, you go in and you talk to some people, but these people not comply certain way, and you not listen, and it threaten them and thing, and in some cases, you know, because he has a sidekick with him, and that sidekick is like, hey, my lord, from Wickus, and Wickus, you know, I say, hey, we need to do so and so, and next time I will go, we do this, and yeah, so it it mirrors it so well that this is the kind of situation that many humans around the world have to go through with governments, people coming in and deciding for them what their fate should be. Now we meet Christopher Johnson, right? Christopher Johnson is a prawn, right? And they have a name for a reason. We all know whenever you give characters names, there is a reason for that, right? When Wickus enter the shack where belong to the prawn, right? Him find an advanced equipment and thing, it's like, wait, I'm not supposed to have them something here, because I say them when I do with computer and anything, they're not supposed to have them something here. And them, to the humans, they believe that the prawns are below them. So there's like, what am I do with them something here? What you try for do? You know what I'm saying? So Wickus encounters and finds the black fluid in a hidden cylinder, right? Which we get to realize later on that it is the fuel that Christopher Johnson needs for his spaceship, right? Or, well, not spaceship, but the flying machine that he uses to get to the spaceship, to the mothership, right? So, without knowing anything, Wickers confiscates it, right, as suspicious contraband. So, he might decide, say, he might go look on the canister. Now, remember, he's not there to do any investigation or nothing like that. So, him basically tune off, as Jamaicans would have say, and accidentally spray himself with the fluid. Yeah. And that changes everything for him, right? So, because him find this and thing, him make them know, say, hey, them need to get the things them done and escalate the raid and stuff. So, of course, we can continue, without missing a beat and thing, because, there's that scene where you see him a cough, because they didn't inhale some of the black fluid and thing or whatever, right? And him, go to one shack where contains some illegal alien egg, right? They're not supposed to have so much egg because it's it's a thing where like population control comes in, and thing. So because him just casually order them for just burn the egg them, right? Then after that, when he start cough and him feel sick, one moment him, look like he nearly fall over and thing, right? And then he eventually collapses, right? So him would have collapsed at his party. They have a birthday party for him, So him go home to his wife and thing, and he realize them to have one big celebration for him, right? Now, as me saying, that get sick even more over the cake, all sort of something. This it's gross, guys. I don't want to explain what it is, but he basically start feel sick, and the cake was involved in that. Yeah, and him collapse, finally, without getting up, right? Now, at the hospital, right, he gets examined, by a doctor and thing. Him left did bandaged up because, something did happen to him hand. I remember exactly what it was at the time. But when they checked out his arm, it's no longer an arm. It's an alien appendage, right? The man hand changed into that of a prawn claw. We'll be right back after these messages. They said this podcast wasn't profitable. not worth backing. But like everything they try to contain, it found a way out. If you're hearing this, you're outside the fences. No ads, no corporate handlers, just stories that refuse to be silenced. Share it with someone who still remembers what curiosity feels like. Leave a comment to prove you haven't forgotten how to think for yourself. Every listen, every follow, every share breaks another link in the train. Because down here in the dirt and the noise, truth still matters. Now, MNU immediately comes in, and I mean, like, things just change. Because his wife there at the hospital, away upon him, and she can't hear nothing. Them take him and fly him out, carry him go at them location, and, immediately start put him under some experimentation, right? Which by the conventions of humanity, we don't experiment on people. Yeah? We don't experiment on people without them permission. That's very important. Yeah? We ain't supposed to do it. It's done, but it ain't supposed to, right? Now, they realize that Wickus is in a state of his transformation where they can use him to experiment and find out how to fire the alien weapon. So them strap him down and then force him to fire alien weapons. All of this time, the stepfather, because of him order them to do it. And the wife, she don't know nothing. Poor wife, they wonder what happened to Wickus, what happened. And they won't tell her. Now, when they realize, say, boy, them need to preserve, air quotes, preserve the specimen. Who's the specimen? Wickus, right? Poor Wickus. Them decide to do a vivisection and, big word and hard to call. It's just basically while you're alive, they dissect you and they keep you alive as long as possible to, get certain vitals and certain things from you. Now, that is the most horrid thing. And when Wickus realized that them plan for do, my guy decides say him not stand there no longer. Right? And I guess because the prawns have a certain amount of strength, right? Them stronger than humans overall. And him being turned into a prawn, right? Kind of, bury the lead there. But yes, that's what's gonna happen to him. But at this point, he's strong enough, him can rip himself out of their custody and him go on the run. Yeah. So him flee into the city, him try to hide the claw hand and thing and him go, one place and thing. The MNU them have public reports say, oh, what him did do in order for him to be able to become infected. Some nastiness them have them reports him do. That evening wife them a try to convince say that him do. Then wickedy, mighty. So of course the only thing him can do is to seek help, right? Him try to reach out to him friends and family and nobody no want to deal with him because but then here or some of them don't know certain things, but yeah, them have him as a criminal and thing, and them want him to come in. People are telling him say come in man, and thing, and some people reject him call and all these things, so where is he to go? He goes to District 9, right? Because of course there is nothing else. I'm go hide in a Christopher Johnson shack, right? And thing. And it is there that Christopher discovers the truth, right? So Christopher realized, say, the canister where it have with the 20 years worth of fuel, right? We must collect from how long, right? They must scavenge, take and everything for do all of this. Wickus have, you know what I'm saying, lost, basically. So the little way they have left and thing and whatever when could I get, they might try to use it for power up one buried alien shuttle, and that could reach the mothership, right? And thing. But of course, Wickus did get sprayed by the fluid, and so his plan get ruined, right? There's no more way to get the fuel because it take him that many years to get the fuel. All right. So of course, Wickus a panic because him a beg for help now for reversing mutation and thing, right? Christopher tell him, say, the only way I can do it is if I can reach the mothership, right? Which I can do, you know, that time I can cure you and whatever. So, you know, eventually Wickus have to agree. But, you know, Wickus have theme ulterior motives for agreeing, of course. You know, obviously he wants to get himself back to normal, you know, and thing. Anyways, they plan on assaulting the MNU laboratory, right? And thing. They of course have to get some alien weaponry. So we just have to go and get alien weaponry from some of the Nigerian gangster them where have the thing. Of course, when they see him with a claw hand, they immediately want it because the lore of it, the story is that they feel as if you consume the prawn or any product of the prawn, yeah, not wanna be gross about it. They eat it, they can become like the prawn and they can do things, right? Including firing the weaponry, right? And so the leader of the gangsters, he immediately fixates on Wickus because Wickus have a claw hand, and he must say, it look like that him do, because we hear upon the radio say, oh, you do that, and you do the things them where you know where normal human beings wouldn't do, right? And thing. So now Christopher discovers evidence when they reach the MNU laboratory, right, to retrieve the fuel canister and discover evidence that they were dissecting the aliens them. And of course, this break Christopher heart. It break him so much that Christopher go in and, you know what I'm saying, and look like say, you know, you can read from that alien stance, you know, standing over the dead body and the carcass. And he's just shocked, you know, probably angry, everything, right? And he make the angry noise and the cry sound and thing, right? So, of course, because he is a father, right, Christopher, as a son, and him no want to see this happen to any other prawn, him say, boy, they have to get help now for, you know what I'm saying, somehow free them people, right? Now, this time, you know, by this time, the MNU people, them are try to capture them now, no, because they never gonna get the other opportunity to do it like this, right? So when them there now, and Wickus a call to Christopher, can realize that Christopher in a trance and can't even move because you know away bossy and thing. Eventually break him out tight and thing, you know, just in time for them escape and you know get out of there. Now Wickus realizing say boy Christopher has now decided unanimously that him and go try and save him people them and thing and whatever. And I say, yeah, so what about me and thing and whatever, you know, and how we go get me back to myself and all of these things. So him knock out Christopher, right? And he might try to get the son, because the son know how to use the command module, right? We come out for the spaceship. And so he might try to get him to, fly it and thing, load in the canister and everything and activate it. So remember that Nigerian gang? Yes, the gang leader come now and in capture Wickus and Christopher, right? And then plan to eat Wickus because they believe it will give him the special alien powers, as I told you before. So right before they are able to kill him, the MNU forces them attack the compound and things, right? Now Christopher's son now would have activated the ship now by this time, and him use the mothership systems to remotely activate one exosuit that the aliens them have and thing in the same gangsters them compound and thing. It's like a mech, right? If you know what I mean, and it also triggers some defense mechanism across District 9, right? Now, Wickus him jumping at the mech and thing, right? And of course, because him have the claw hand, of course, right? And him have the alien DNA, him can't operate it, right? So the mech shield him, right? And he's able to fire weapons and fight the MNU troops, right? Him all rescue Christopher, right? Who gets aboard the command module. Big battle erupt through District 9 because I use the mech. The military them try to attack the mech, and you know what I'm saying? They eventually tear the mech apart and thing, and Wickus get dragged out and nearly beaten to death. Poor thing. So now, right before the MNU soldiers them get to execute Wickus, him get saved again by a group of prawn warriors, right? Because all of them just stand up, you see, from when Christopher's son activate them, the thing is like all of them just seem like they get activated same time, right? And them leap in and kill all of the troop them, right? Now, Christopher and his son, them are sent to the mothership, right? And the ship dock with it, right? And power up and thing, right? Christopher is thankful, for what Wickus do for him, right? And basically, that is where we last see, based on what the documentary style is saying, that's where they last saw Wickus. Because after that now, the news claims that Wickus is kidnapped by Christopher and that MNU denies wrongdoing and blames Wickus for the chaos, and the District 9 residents get evacuated and moved to District 10, which is the concentration camp, and it is now housing millions of aliens, right? Now, Wicker's wife receives a gift. It's a small metal flower that gets placed on her doorstep, right? Which, of course, knowing her husband, she figure it is from Wicker's, right? So we see a fully transformed prawn, and as they're talking, it's of the narration, we get the idea. So this is Wickus fully transformed, was sitting inside a shack and him a craft a metal flower identical to the one where his wife would have found. So obviously this hints that Wickus still remembers her, even when he gets transformed, it doesn't mean that he forgets. And he is possibly waiting for Christopher to return. Yeah, that is my analysis and interpretations. What do you think, huh? So I'd like to offer some theories about unresolved mysteries and some plot points. So it's very obvious that the movie left it up in the air what the true purpose and origin of the alien arrival was, right? What was most indicative of that is that the aliens appear to be sick, they appear to be leaderless, and they don't seem to be motivated around any specific thing other than them survival, right? Which is almost like a biological thing, right? In most biological organisms, right? So there is not much of an answer for why their mothership might have broke down, and what their backstory, and their intent on when they came to Earth, right? Why did they come, right? Because it could have been a rescue mission that went wrong, right? It could be a prison transport, which is something I've heard, right? And it could be that they left their dying planet in an exodus, right? The true fate of the leadership is left a mystery, right? Now, it could be that the leadership was the ones who went first and the aliens that we see left, could have been the worker class. Or it could be that the leaders were also stricken by an illness that made them docile, just like everybody else. Yeah. Another thing is the nature and the function of the alien technology. Now, it is very obvious that the prawns' weapons are biologically engineered, right? And they can only function with their alien DNA. So the aliens, obviously, they could have taken over, right? Because only them have the ability to use the most advanced technology on the planet now, right? And the whole idea of whether they understood how to use it, or is it a case where, again, not knowing what to do, probably in their state, right? So the mutagenic fluid, we have to talk about that, right? Because it's able to transform a human being into a prawn, right? And this is because it was accidentally sprayed on Wickus, right? Now, maybe that is just a byproduct of what it, being exposed to their fuel is, right? But, it basically isn't explained as to what the whole science is behind that, whether it is, it's obvious that it can be, from what Christopher said, it can be reversed. So there must be something that, this particular fluid does to the body that is possibly reversible. Yeah, it's a major unanswered question. Christopher's motives, right, and the whole alien politics thing, because Christopher seems to be one of the few aliens that seem to be a little bit brighter than the others. Right? And it's almost like giving credit, right? But yes, we have to give credit where credit's due, right? And the fact that he's been planning this, possibly for the 20 years, leads me to believe that maybe he was one of the engineers, right? Or some, intelligent alien that, operated this ship, right? So it could be, that in the hierarchies, he might not be at the top as a leader, but he might be one of the intelligent ones, right? So that is something that, it would definitely, if they were to come up with a a second movie or probably a remake, they could speak to in terms of what the alien society is like, what their political landscape is, because those are mysterious, right? The fate of Wickus van der Meer. So at the end, Wickus is fully transformed into a prawn and he lives in exile, making gifts for his wife. And he's living on the promise that Christopher will return and cure him. That whole arc understanding is left unresolved. We don't know whether Christopher really are gonna return to cure him, or probably Christopher decide to, bring an armada and take over Earth, right? Or something, you know what I'm saying? You never know, right? Yeah. What relations, future alien relations can happen, because if that's how they treat aliens, right? Imagine how the aliens them decide to treat them and it's their turn. The MNU and the government conspiracies, of course. So the full extent of the multinational united, right? Motivations beyond them weaponizing the alien technology doesn't get fully explored, right? And it seems like the government is fully complicit in the aliens' exploitation and them long-term intentions, because we never see anything like any pushback, and it seems like the MNU does have it. They can just go in and do what they want to do, and they can come out as how they want to come out, right? They have full authority where that is concerned. So that's something that we definitely need to see more, of the lore to find out how that go. The alien human social dynamics. So the film kind of leave it open, what possible peaceful coexistence could happen, or if there's an integration, right? Or maybe there's some kind of separation, something that leaves both sides in a good light, right? And not somewhere like to say, all right, we're imprison you, or we're at war with them, because they're not like us and they don't behave like us, that kind of thing. So obviously the film doesn't put humanity, in a good light, and empathy is something that few of us are able to express, right? Because of how we were taught and how we grow, right? Some people feel empathy is weakness and, you have to become weak. No, empathy is a strength. It is something that we use to make bonds. That is strength. But many people don't understand that. So here are some speculations, right? The prawns are a worker class, right? The aliens then represent an engineered semi-autonomous caste, right? So, in the levels of thing there, right? And they're just intended for labor or war, right? Which is supported by the fact say when Christopher's son turn on the ship thing and it mechanized and thing, it kind of primed them in a way, and it's almost like they were ready to do what they need to do, because all this time they seem to be very all over the place, but they were very organized at that point. Christopher's family backstory. So it is suggested he could be a leader, a scientist, but they don't seem to have an organized aliens thing, Perhaps there was some kind of faction, politics. It could be, on the mothership, and cause them to end up in Earth, or on the, in the state that they are for those 20 years. So obviously I've been talking and I've been mentioning that if them put a sequel, this is what I would love to see, right? Definitely Christopher's promised return, right? Will lead the future, humans and aliens, some have to reconcile them differences. What are the consequences of each side's choice? Have some kind of retribution, probably on the aliens' part, them come and them decide to do something, maybe not wipe out human beings, but to do something so drastic, you know, that humans have to recognize and respect them. Yeah. And that is why we as humans we develop the means of doing protests, when we see injustice happening, we tend to form a collective with the understanding that yes, this is an injustice and we need to call it out for what it is. And we need to stand up and make our voices heard. That is what it is. It is a desire to make things right. It's not about trying to overthrow something without having something better replace it, right? It's always for the betterment, right? It can be abused, it can be misappropriated at times, but we have to represent things properly because many times we might feel like the only way to resolve a situation is to get violent about it. And that's not necessarily the truth. We have better means. We can have discussions at tables. We can have all of those things, right? We work together, right, to move forward. It's only in an authoritarian or a dictatorship that one decides that we don't need the other side. We just have one side. And that is a terrible rhetoric. Share your theories. Maybe you agree with my theories, maybe you don't. But let me know in the comments. In this episode, we looked at District 9. In it, we saw how humanity has failed to be the better of themselves. One man literally had to be transformed into an alien for him to understand the plight of the aliens. And through that lens, we saw how segregation has set us back as a species. Because when we put people into groups, into races, we have initially put ourselves into a box, our own selves. And that causes us to be disconnected from the truth. And that truth is that we work better together, stronger together, better bonds together. And this is what would have brought out the alien within, because we have departed from being human, having empathy, and found ourselves in a place where we no longer recognize ourselves in the mirror. And I'm sure if Wickus was able to look at himself, right, he might not have said it in the film or stated it in the film, but he could have said to himself, I am one dumb mother F. Him learn a lot more about the prawns because he's able to get down to their level and to see what they see through their eyes. It doesn't make things better for him nor the prawns, but at least that's progress. And maybe someone listening might learn something or can pass this on to someone else who would learn something. Because in the end, as a race, we need to confront our better natures and our worse natures so that we can get better. Divided we fall, together we stand. And the way how we fight one another globally, and we forget the plight of the smaller countries, the smaller nations. Climate change is a real thing, and it is affecting us dearly, costing lives and property. And there you have it, another thrilling chapter in our voyage to the universe of sci-fi television. The path ahead leads to 2,000 downloads, and every bit of engagement brings us closer. Follow, comment, and share your thoughts. Until we meet again, keep exploring the unknown. This content is CAN credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm on their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org. All right, everyone. That's it for today's episode. Coming to you post Hurricane Melissa. I'm grateful to still be here, still creating, still sharing these stories with you. Thanks for sticking with me through the chaos. Stay safe, stay grounded, and as always, catch you in the next one.